everyone, welcome back to another video and another autism reviews. Today we are going to be reviewing a TENS pen. If you're new here, I'm autistic and also disabled in many other ways, and this review series is kind of giving my opinion as an autistic person and also a disabled person about how different products worked for me and whether or not they're suitable for people like me. If you're looking to buy any of these things I review for someone who is autistic, or if you yourself are autistic, then it's a great way to get an autistic opinion. But even if you're not autistic or disabled and you just want an opinion on the product, that also works. So, as I said, today we are going to be reviewing this TENS pen. My mum recently bought this for me when she came over to see me. She found this in Boots and thought it might help, and I wanted to review it. But before we get into the actual review, what is a TENS pen? So, if you don't know, TENS, T-E-N-S, stands for Transcutaneous Electrical Nerve Stimulation. I do have a resource open to the side of me. I did not just know that off the top of my head. I'm not a doctor, but that is what it stands for. And essentially, all it is it sends little electrical signals into your body. The machine that I have is obviously a pen. You push the button on the top, and it performs what it's supposed to. However, you can get them in little battery-operated machines, and you attach them with sticky pads on the areas you want, which is the sort of thing you usually see at the doctors. So, if you don't know, the way a TENS pen works is it sends little electrical pulses through your body. It can help block pain signals going to your brain, so therefore you don't feel as much pain. It can also stimulate endorphins, which are your body's natural painkillers. And it will also help relax your muscles. So that is what a TENS machine does. You can get them obviously in pen form. You can get the little battery operated ones that you might see at the doctor. Sometimes they might give you one to take home with you. You can also get bigger ones that they use at the doctor. But that really is all there is to it. There is also PENS, P-E-N-S, which stands for Percutaneous Electrical Nerve Stimulation, which is essentially the same thing, but it's delivered via needles, sort of similar to acupuncture, instead of in a little device. So that's what a TENS device is, but what is it usually used for? TENS machines are usually used to reduce pain and muscle spasms, either in sports injuries, people with arthritis. It can be even used for period pain and labour, and also chronic conditions such as HSD, which is what I have, EDS, and many others. TENS machines aren't a particularly new thing, however there still isn't that much research into how effective they are and exactly what they can do, but they are effective enough that they are sold. You can just buy them over the counter. I got my one from Boots, my mum bought it for me, Tesco's, any kind of drugstore, or of course you can get them at the doctor's. So although there isn't a heap load of scientific research to back up how good the TENS pen works, they are used enough that they are sold widely throughout most stores. You can get them pretty much anywhere in the world, and they're used for a variety of reasons. So now that you know what a TENS pen is and what it's used for, let's get into the review. So as per usual, I'm going to do a pros and cons list, give you a rating, tell you whether I recommend it, and also talk a little bit about my experience using it. So let's start with the pros. The first pro is it works, which is brilliant. To give you a bit more detail about how it works and why it works for me, I need to tell you a little bit about my disabilities. So I have HSD, which is hypermobility spectrum disorder. Basically all of my limbs, joints, they're all very stretchy and very bendy, which is great and all, but it causes me a lot of joint pain, especially during the hotter months and when there's high pressure weather. I have a lot of joint pain. It's very debilitating. I can't really do anything. Definitely can't sleep. And it's also the sort of pain that painkillers don't really help with. It's just kind of a really deep ache is the best way I can describe it. And there's really nothing you can do about it. Previously, the only way I've managed it is I've taken painkillers, but they don't really do that much for that specific kind of pain. And I do a lot of stretching. I do yoga twice a day, which does help, but there's still only so much that stretching can do. It's also worth mentioning that I also have a lot of other kinds of pain. So I also have extreme chronic headaches, migraines, my back. I managed to injure it, still not really sure how, several years ago, so I have really intense pain up one side of my back, and it does not help with that kind of pain. So it doesn't help with kind of pain that painkillers would help with, but it does help with the achy pains that comes with my HSD. That's quite an important distinction, because if you do have pain that is more similar to a headache, or pretty much any pain that kind of painkillers mostly eradicate, I'm not sure that the TENS pen will work for you. I'm more specifically, the pain that it really works for is the achy pains, so to do with your muscles and your joints. So for example, if you pulled a muscle and that was giving you a lot of problems, whether that be just because you fell over or if you do sports or something, then it would likely help with that. People use TENS for a lot of sports injuries, so when you pull muscles, that would work. But if it's more of a you've broken your leg kind of injury, probably wouldn't work for that. So that's a really important distinction. So exactly what kind of pain you have is very important. So before you consider buying it, I would suggest identifying exactly what kind of pain you have. I would, of course, also suggest you do your own research and ask your doctor. I am not a doctor. I'm just giving my personal opinion with my experience. I mean, I have had a lot of experiences with doctors and the medical field, shall we say. Being disabled, you don't really have much of a choice, but I'm not a doctor, so don't take my word for that. Do your own research, ask your own doctor. It's also worth mentioning here that it's not suitable for everyone. If you have a pacemaker or anything kind of metal, any kind of metal electrical device, it is not suitable for you, because obviously it sends electrical pulses into your body, which is going to royally screw with any kind of electrical devices you already have in your body. It's also not recommended if you're pregnant or maybe pregnant, or if you have epilepsy. Just be aware of that, and of course, ask your doctor, do your own research. But going back to how it works, I was shocked at just how well it works. When I'm filming this, it's kind of the middle of September, and I first got it about a month ago, I think, maybe 3 weeks ago, and it was still very hot here in the UK. We've had multiple heat waves this summer, and also a lot of high pressure weather. High pressure weather causes me all sorts of problems, and so does the heat that we're not going to get into. But all you need to know is essentially it makes everything much worse. I often can't sleep at night because of my joint pain, and the best way I can describe it, if you don't have that sort of joint pain, if you're kind of, if you're here looking for a recommendation for someone else, is joint pain. It feels very similar to growing pains, but 10 times worse. So because I was having all of these problems pretty much the same night I got it, I was like, oh, well, I'm in pain, I can't go to sleep, I may as well try it out. And when I tell you it worked instantly, I mean it worked instantly. All you do is you wrap your hand around it. It's very important that you have your hand on this metal base plate, because of course it's electricity, and having your hand on the metal grounds the electricity, because otherwise you're going to get quite a nasty electric shock. You put it on whatever area. I'll just do my arm because you can see that. And then you just hold the button down and it sends tiny little electrical pulses, and it literally eliminates the achy pains almost immediately. It was my legs particularly that were bothering me that night, and I just kind of held it on my thigh, moved it up and down a little bit for a minute on each thigh, and then I went straight to sleep because it literally fixed it. It only works short term, so it's obviously not a permanent fix. But yeah, it was perfect. I used it for 2 minutes and then went to sleep, and it was perfect. And so, I then, the next day when I was also feeling achy, I used it again and was able to carry on with my life for another 5 hours before I started feeling achy again. And ever since then, it goes everywhere with me. I mean, I don't really go out that much, but yeah, I use it every day. Some days it's needed more than others. You might have to, if you're having a particularly bad day, if there's high pressure weather or something, I might have to use it multiple times in a day. Some days only once. Sometimes I skip days, It's just kind of an as and when you need it sort of thing, but it works. Trust me, it works. So the next pro on my list is that it's just super easy to use. It's very user-friendly, very accessible, which is super impressive. So obviously you can see that this is very small. This is, compared to my hand for scale, I have pretty small hands. So it's very small, it's very lightweight, it's not even remotely heavy. The button is very easy to press in. It's not, you don't have to really hold it. You can just, kind of press it. So it doesn't require any kind of strength to push the button. It also comes with a battery included, which you just have to put in and pull the safety tab out. And it just works immediately. And that's literally all you do. You just have to hold it and push the button And that's it. That's the whole thing. So yeah, thumbs up on the accessibility and user-friendly side of things. The final pro is that the TENS pen specifically, rather than a TENS machine, which you have to, stick those kind of little pads on. I'll put a picture up if you don't know what I'm talking about. It means that, it's small, portable, lightweight. You can take it anywhere. You can chuck this in your, handbag, backpack, whatever. You can use it at work. It's very discreet and small. So, if you're and like I said, it doesn't take very long to use. Literally 1 to 2 minutes. So just while you're working, if your arm's hurting, problem solved. If you're going away for a weekend or something, then you can bring it with you. It's not like some other big medical equipment that's harder to take with you. So I did a review for my back massager that I have. And that's obviously much harder to bring with me because it's pretty big. And it would obviously take up a lot of space if I were going away for a weekend. But this just stays in my bag now. I bring it everywhere, and I'll never leave the house without it again. So to summarize the pros, it works. It really does exactly what it says it should. It's user-friendly, lightweight, portable. You can take it anywhere, and it works, honestly. That's the biggest pro. But there are a few cons, so let's talk about those. So the first con is obviously that it can be a bit pricey. I believe this one specifically that my mum got was about £50 from Boots. Boots is known for being a little bit pricey, but from what I've seen online, you can get ones that range from anywhere from about £20 to £200. Now, I do not know why you would ever spend £200 on this. Please do not do that. If I could give you one piece of advice, don't buy one that's £200. That's an awful idea. There is no need. You can get a really cheap one, and if you're not sure whether or not it's going to work for you, and you have 20 quid to spend to give it a try, then I would say do that. But even when you're buying, if you know it's going to work, or if you've tried it before and you do want one, there's still no need to drop £200 on a TENS machine. There's just, don't do that. I would personally recommend anything from it really depends what your price range is. If the 20 to 30 quid one is the only one you can afford, go for it, because there's really no difference in quality. They all do exactly what they say they should do, which is just sends little electrical pulses. It's exactly the same thing. The only difference will be the quality of the outside, so it might not look as good, and it might not last as long. But if 20 quid's all you've got at the moment, then there's no reason that you shouldn't buy the cheap one, honestly. If you've got an extra 20 quid to spend, then I would say go for kind of a mid-range one, probably something about this price, so about 50 quid. Mid-range is usually pretty good in my opinion. It's not kind of cheap tat that's gonna break in a couple of months, but it's also not ridiculously expensive, kind of paying for the brand kind of cost. And then the other con is kind of another side of the same coin, which is that because it's quite expensive, it's a bit too expensive to just kind of buy it and see if it works. So it's one of those things that if you don't 100% know if it's going to work for you or whoever you're buying it for, then it's maybe a tiny bit too much money. 50 quid is it's not the most money in the world, but it's also a bit too much money to drop on something that you're not sure is going to work. So my suggestion for that is, if you're thinking of buying it either for you or if you know someone who you think they might find it helpful, I would suggest try and go to the doctors, because most doctors will have a TENS machine, the ones with the pads rather than a pen, and just ask them if you can try it. Some will even let you take it home just for a week to try it out. However, that only really works if you live in a country with free healthcare. So I'm in the UK and we have mostly free healthcare, so I can just go to the doctors and ask for that. But obviously if you're living in America or something, then it's way cheaper to just buy the pen than it is to go to the doctor. So that will entirely depend on your personal situation, depending on where you are in the world. But yeah, if it is cheaper for you, try going to the doctors and just asking them if you can try the machine, even just try it there and then. And because like I said, you'll know pretty much immediately if it's going to work for you. It worked for me immediately. There was no kind of if, ands or buts about it. You know, when I needed it, I tried it and it just worked immediately, you know? So it shouldn't be a long thing. So, you know, if you have free healthcare, you can always call ahead and, you know, ask them, you know, I'm looking at trying a TENS machine. Do you have one that I can come in and try? You know, you might even have to book a doctor's appointment. That might be the sort of thing that the nurse has. So, you know, I suggest call them, you know, do a bit of research, and obviously that all depends on where you live. You can also maybe, I'm not really sure what the return policies are for these sorts of things, but I doubt that you could return the TENS machines with the pads. But these pens, I see no reason why you couldn't order one, you know, off Amazon, wherever, try it, and then send it back if it doesn't work for you. You know, as long as you keep all the packaging and everything, I don't think there's any reason why you couldn't send it back. There may be a problem with, because obviously you have to pull the safety tab out to get the battery to work. But, you know, just look at returns policies and things, and obviously that depends on individual financial situations, you know. But yeah, really that is the only con, just that, you know, it's a bit pricey, and, you know, it's not easy to tell whether or not it's going to work for you without kind of trying it. But there are lots of solutions to that. You know, you can call your doctors, see if they have one that you can try. You can order it and return it if it doesn't work for you. You can ask around. You might know someone who has one, because like I said, they are fairly, you know, kind of standard. They're at, you know, Boots, drugstores, supermarkets, so they are fairly kind of a standard piece of equipment. So if you ask around, you might know someone who has one that you can give it a try, and, you know, there's no worry about, you know, like cross-contamination or anything, because it doesn't actually go anywhere like it shouldn't. It's just, you know, it just touches your skin. So, you know, there's no reason why you couldn't use someone else's. But yeah, really it is just that it's a little bit more pricey than I'd like, but you can get cheaper ones, and honestly it is worth dropping a little bit of extra money because it has literally been life-changing for me. So now that we talked about the pros and cons, let's talk about what I think about it overall and give it a rating. So the final rating I've given the TENS pen is a 4.5 out of 5 stars. I knocked off half a star because it is a tiny bit pricey depending on which one you buy, but really it's a brilliant device. It gets rid of my joint pain, which has previously been almost unmanageable because there was just nothing that worked, you know. I could do some stretching, but that was really all I could do. Whereas now, with my stretching combined with the TENS pen, it can completely eliminate my achy pains for multiple hours. And that really is the biggest thing for me. You know, being disabled, you have to kind of, I have to learn to work around things, and it is what it is, you know, you have to carry on. But this means that I can, you know, I can now just eliminate something that before was so annoying and it was getting in the way and there was really nothing I could do about it. But now I have something that can help. You know, the fact that it's lightweight, portable, easy to use means that I can use it on the go as well, you know, when I'm at university or if you're at work or whatever, you know, you can just have it in your bag and, you know, on break or whatever, or even hell while you're working, you know, it's not intrusive in any way. You can just use it for 30 seconds and carry on. For me personally, it's improved my quality of life a lot because it means that, you know, in the evenings when I'm struggling to get to sleep because, you know, my legs are aching and killing me, you know, I can just use a TENS pen and then I can go to sleep in peace and get a good night's sleep. You know, sleep is really important to me, so being able to get to sleep quicker and have better sleep because I'm not disturbed by the fact that my legs are aching, you know, it means that I'm getting better sleep, and which therefore, you know, means I'm less fatigued during the day. It means I have less headaches, or at least the severity is slightly less. And it, you know, it means that I'm no longer bothered by so many achy pains, you know. If I do start feeling achy, I can do a quick stretch, use the TENS pen, and then just carry on with my day, rather than kind of, you know, having to stretch for 40 minutes and then still only being at kind of like, well, you know, that helped a bit, but my legs still hurt. So yeah, for me personally, it really has been life-changing. It's really improved my quality of life. I've been able to do so much more, you know, get better sleep, and really the only con is that it can be a little bit pricey depending on which one you buy. So would I recommend it? Absolutely I would. I think the TENS pen is amazing. Obviously, you know, you kind of have to assess for yourself whether or not it's something that will help you. Like I said, it only works for the specifically achy muscle joint pains and not anything else that's kind of, you know, chronic pain related, such as you know, my headaches, migraines, back pain. So obviously, you know, you have to kind of make your own assessment, ask your doctor, ask your mum if she knows about these sorts of things. My mum does. But so yeah, you kind of have to make your own assessment about whether it's going to work for you personally. But if you do think it's going to work, absolutely give it a go. As I said, you can always try it and return it, or, you know, call your doctor's office or something and see if they've got one that you can try. And yeah, honestly, you know, if it's the sort of thing that you think is going to help, give it a go, because it really could be life-changing. So yeah, that is my review of the TENS pen. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope this review was helpful. If you have any questions for me down below, ask away. You know, I really have no limits. I'll talk about anything if you want to. Any questions, please feel free to ask me. If you want to be a bit more private, feel free to DM me on Instagram. You know, if you don't want to post your problems in YouTube comments, totally get it. Message me on Instagram and I'll answer you there as well. But yeah, other than that, I hope you've enjoyed this video and I hope it's been helpful. Like it if you did, share it with anyone that you think it might help out. Subscribe if you want to see more. I've got loads more reviews coming, including a fantastic new bra. So yeah, if you want a recommendation for the most amazing bra ever, subscribe, because that's coming in a couple of weeks. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video and I will see you in the next one.